Yeah.
We're live.
أهلا وسهلا فيكم. أنا يمان زيدان، عضو ببرنامج جسور ريادة الأعمال اللي بيهدف لدعم رواد الأعمال السوريين بمختلف المجالات ليطوروا المشاريع الخاصة فيهم. نحن ببرنامج جسور ريادة الأعمال حابين نخبركم إنه حنكون موجودين بمؤتمر تكفي وجيز اللي متعلق بالتكنولوجيا واللاجئين يوم الأربعاء القادم 26 بباريس. نتمنى الاجتماع بالأشخاص اللي حيكونوا متواجدين هناك وعم يحضرونا اليوم. اليوم نحن بجلستنا الثامنة لريادة الأعمال حيكون معنا ميكي مؤسس شركة زنابتاج اللي بتهدف لأحداث تغيير بطريقة استخدام الصور الرقمية بالإعلانات المستخدمة بطريقة ذكية وتفاعلية. رح نتعرف اليوم أكثر عن زنابتاج وعن التحديات اللي واجهها ميكي إضافة لنجاحاته، وأكيد رح يكون معنا دانيا وسفيان من برنامج جسور. جلستنا اليوم حتكون بالإنجليزي وحنترجمها بعدين وننزل ترجمة على اليوتيوب. فيكم تسألونا عن طريق الفيسبوك واليوتيوب وأكيد رح نجاوبكم على أسئلتكم. Hello Miki.
Hello.
Welcome to our session. Today we would like to know more about you and about Znaptag. And how did you start your journey as an entrepreneur?
Oh, that started when I was very young, actually. I always felt that I needed to prove something to myself, and I needed to build something, things that I wanted. And I when I was a kid, I read a lot, and I got inspired by a lot of people that I read about, and then I wanted to become something myself. So I've always, as growing up, wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I started my first company when I was 16. It's been a long journey.
So I'll ask a few questions,
Sure.
if you don't mind, Miki, to kind of get the conversation going.
Yeah.
So you started at 16, so you've come a long way. How many startups have you gone through, and how would you describe each one in terms of your entrepreneurship journey? Were they all successful? Did you have some hiccups along the way? What are the most memorable moments in your
I think there's always hiccups, and of course, many of them weren't successful. But you learn along the way when you make mistakes, and that is what it's all about. I think being an entrepreneur or being running a business is all about solving the next problem, and that also applies to life in general, I think. No, I started off first thing when I was 16. I was very interested in the stock market at that time, so we started a little fund, but that was more like a fun thing. It was not really a big business plan behind it. But then somewhere that gave me that also hunger in building something, and as I was studying at university, I studied in I'm from Sweden, and I studied in a Swedish university city. I was already looking out on what kind of business that I wanted to start, and this is 20 years ago. I started off focusing on online recruitment at that time because that was something that was up and coming. And I focused on one niche, and that was graduates or job seekers in the tech field, specifically programmers. So as that journey went on, and I was doing all my background, all my research, I'm just trying to understand this industry that I've never been in. So I spent probably a whole year in doing so. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she asked me suddenly that if I knew anybody at the university who wanted to make some extra money, because one of her friend's mother was running a recruitment company. So I said, yes, I want to, because I wanted to learn the inside of a company as well. So I saw that as a great opportunity. And as I started that company, I realized that they were working in ways that, I didn't want it to. As I didn't want it to. In my business plan, it was the kind of contradictory to everything that I was finding and that I was thinking about. So I decided instead of keeping everything as a secret, as you never should as an entrepreneur, I think, I instead wrote after 2 days, I wrote a 4-page memo to the woman who was the CEO of that company and was running it. And they liked what they wrote. So 1 week later, I was recruited into this company instead, in a management position, and decided to do the things that I have laid out. So that startup became me working for another company, and I learned a lot on that little journey I had there. So that was, I think, was a significant point that I wanted to make. That not always is it, one thing is that you should never be afraid in telling what you think and what your ideas are, and share those with others. Never be afraid of people stealing your idea. And in this case, in this situation, it turned out that I didn't really start the company that I was looking to start, but instead I gained a good position in a company that was up and running, because I presented all my findings or all my thoughts for it. So that was one. And then I didn't work at this company for that long, because I was already then starting to think about my next thing. And that became a music company. And a lot of things happened by accident and luck. Never underestimate the power of luck, because every single successful entrepreneur in the world has been lucky. That's how it is. And the one who says differently are not lying, or they don't understand themselves how lucky they have been, which is dangerous. But yeah, I was lucky. I ran in, always been interested in music, and I by accident I connected with a guy in a restaurant who was a music producer. And then that became a journey instantly for the next like 3-4 years. Music, so that was a big music project. And during that course of period, I got to know a lot of the people in the music industry and related industries, so entertainment, but also in merchandising, in toys, my personal network expanded quite significant. And that's another thing that is part of everybody's journey. Whatever business you're in, whatever your idea in building something is, it's the meeting of people that makes you successful as well. So you have the luck factor, and you have the meeting of people. And as long as you stay honest and you stay in this network that you're building, in being somebody that are pushing and driving, it will take you a long way. So as your network of people that you can communicate with, that will help you, and don't be afraid to ask anybody along the way. I've done that every day of my life, basically, because there's always people that are better than you are. So I always want to learn from them, and that's what that journey really gave me a great network in the US specifically this time, which also correlated to other things later in life. Even though I was working in the music, and we had our projects in music. Later, now when I'm in tech, a lot of the people that I was working with back then, invested in my company today. So there's a long line that follows, just as you start reaching out to people and driving whatever idea that it is that you're working on. So that led up to what I have today, Znaptag. So I can give a little bit of the background of it. We started off as advertising business, in image advertising, where you overlay banners on top of images. And we saw it back then. We started building this somewhere 2009. We saw this as a great thing, because as we knew that most online publishers, the New York Times of the world, or Haaretz and so on, these companies we saw struggling. So we thought that the image space is an underused advertising area, which is also very prominent on a web page. So we can actually add revenue to all these publishers. So this should be a great idea, and we hadn't seen it anywhere. And then of course, you're never unique. That's another thing. We, of course, along the next 1-2 years, when we were just in a building mode, there were other companies building the same thing, and we launched as a number 2 in the world, even though we were building at the same time. So when we came out, we launched that. We built team because we got the first customers on board in Sweden, and Sweden is a very small country, so we decided immediately that, it's the same work in getting a customer on board in Sweden as it is in getting a customer on board in London, or a customer on board in New York, whereas the American customers are quite much larger in terms of scope. So we felt that, and also because of our background, we have been, both me and my 2 partners, we have been extensively in both US and in London in our previous company. So we already had the network on ground, which was, so it's not just logical to take it directly there. And you always make mistakes. One of our mistakes here is that we expanded too fast, because we opened up. It's very easy to expand fast and employ people. You will hear a lot of people saying that's very hard employing people, but it's actually quite easy. And then employing the right people is also something that I've been studying quite extensively, and I think we've employed the best people we did in our industry. But still, it's a big mistake to expand very fast, because as everybody of you, and I hope not, but it surely will be so, that revenues or projections is extremely rarely that you meet them. So, and you're always hopeful that it will go fast, but it always takes 1/3. The speed is 1/3 of the time that you expect, and that's what you have to learn to discount. So it always takes time, but once it starts up and running, then if you have to get there, if you, with the right people, get there faster. But I think nevertheless, expanding too fast, even with the right people, will put a lot of strain on you if you haven't raised enough money, and that's also part of the equation here. So you raised quite a lot of money. I did, but then again, in our case, it wasn't 1/3. It became like 1/5 of our expectations, and that was tough. So then you have to solve that problem and move on, and which we eventually did. But I think that's how we started Znaptag. Then we merged, which we haven't communicated to the market. We merged our ad tech part with an American company. So we sent in our technology and some people, and then and that became that is a pretty interesting company now called Consequence, and so that's a profitable company. At the same time, we were building image recognition and data collection around images. So this is pure luck, actually, and that's a very, very nice company today that that's where I'm active. So we're changing name from Znaptag to the Image Data Company. But we're basically, we have one large customer in Thomson Reuters, and then we're collecting all data around the usage of their images online. So this is from beginning what I wanted to say, that you go through, solving problems, and along the way you will always, things that happens to early in your life, in your career, will benefit you later in your career if you play it honestly, and if you have a drive and work in what you're trying to accomplish. But people recognize it, and you gain more friends that believe in you. So there's like a big circle in my life now, when we have gotten somewhere here. Some new people, some old people, from different industries, but here we are. So yeah. Any other question? That was a long outlay.
Thank you so much. I think Sufyan has a follow-up question, and then I'll ask a few as well.
Yes. So I'm trying to get more to people questions, and but first, thank you for this introduction. It's very inspiring. You mentioned that's really important for people to take. To be aware before they decide to expand. So this is one of the questions that we received from Amr, and the question is when and how you decide to expand to New York and London, and why not San Francisco, which is might be obvious for a lot of people in the domain.
That's a good question. Now we picked, and it was just, and I lived in San Francisco as well. There are a lot of friends there, but this was industry specific. So in advertising, all the media agencies, they have their US headquarters in New York, and also the stock photo companies as well. So Getty Images was an early partner of mine, and now Thomson Reuters and Shutterstock, they're all based in New York. So if I would be working in some other industry, I may have chosen San Francisco, but in my industry, it was New York. And London is the same thing. It's the largest hub for media agencies on the European level.
And when you decided, like, this is the time for us to expand to new market, US market.
Okay. So I decided. There was one crucial moment. One was that I signed a deal with a stock photo company that is largest in the world, called Getty Images, and when I had done that, then I knew that here we have a global partnership that we can grow with. So that was number one. Number two, when I signed that, then I recruited, besides my two co-founders, we had actually recruited some two tech guys in Sweden and a business administration person. And then we decided to take on some international people. So I brought in some of the persons that were the first employees of Spotify that built their advertising side of the Spotify. So that's what I did, but the key for me was that I signed a deal that was international. That's when I decided to expand.
Thank you for that. You mentioned all of the different projects that you were part of. So I wonder, what was your role in each one? Did you play the same role in each of these startups? And what was it? What is it that came in and filled? Besides the co-founders and other people that were part of them.
Yeah, I've more or less played the same role in every startup, and I've started every company but one, actually, that I haven't mentioned that one, but. Now, I've always basically been the CEO, but only for one reason, is that as a CEO, I think the main thing that you have to do is you have the ability to raise money, because there's always a big hurdle, and that's basically So that's basically what I've been the CEO. I think one of my partners, Eric, he's much better in many things, most things actually, and he's betting in organizing and the operations around the company. So that falls under him. But the role of CEO is raising money. That's how I see it.
And is this something you studied? Did you study this? Is this your background? Did you get any kind of professional training in this, or were you born with it?
No, I mean it's always training, but you have to have you have to be able to stand up and speak for a vision, and you have to believe in that vision. And if you have those things, and also proven that you're driving towards your vision, you're up and presenting that these are the things that we're doing now. This is how big the market is, and this is why we're changing the market, and this is why our product that we're releasing is differentiated, and this is why people are buying into it. If you can stand and say all those things, and show that your ability and the team that you have around you, combined ability, is very means that it's the probability is high that you will reach the goals that you're talking about. Then people will invest money in you. So I don't think that there's nothing here you learn on university. This is nothing you. This is something you just have to be out. You have to be out, speak at what you're doing, and know what your needs are. And if you can do those things, then you'll be able to raise money.
Yeah. And you mentioned something about Znaptag, which I thought was very interesting, that once you started Znaptag, you did your research and you found someone else doing something very similar, but that didn't stop you. And I think this is the case with everybody out there that's trying to start. Everybody's thought of some iteration of the same project, either done or is doing it or is planning to do it. So how would you advise young entrepreneurs that are looking to start up their projects with people doing something similar? How do you advise them to navigate, or what's the thought process that they should go through, to really push through and go ahead with their project?
No, I think number one, you shouldn't care too much about what the competitors are doing. The market is always very, very large. I listened to the guy 2 weeks ago or last month, Kareem. I mean, he was spot on when he said, I mean, you had Uber, you had Lyft, but in his region, he saw there was a different need. Now, that's the thing. I mean, you find and you build your product. You don't have to care what the competitors are doing, even though it's always interesting to see what they're doing, because in the end, everybody's copying each other in some ways. And I mean, I think I know that we copied one thing from one competitor that we saw, oh, this is great, we should add this. And we know that same competitor copied from us afterwards when we came up with something. So it's like, and we don't care. That's how it is. But you have to know and believe in what you're doing, and think that you're better. Like everybody can open a convenience store selling food, but for some reasons, some of the convenience stores becomes national chains with a lot of convenience stores, and the competitor still has only one store. So don't be afraid of competition, but know what your selling points are, because it's the gaining of customers that becomes the most important thing. If you're in every business, I say. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Awesome. Some more questions are coming in our YouTube channel. This one from Faris is that, like, what is the biggest challenge you have faced in the foundation stage for your company? Another one, maybe I can answer those two questions and you can answer those, follow each other. Another one from Salim. Would be great if you can tell us about your strategy to advertise a new feature or implementing a new ideas on your platform. So those are the two questions that we have for the moment, at the moment.
Okay, so in the foundation, the biggest obstacle, let's see, I mean, in the different companies that I've been involved in, it's getting the product right, I think, and that's always a big obstacle. I think we once in one company we launched we had a price comparison company, and we launched a product that wasn't ready at all, and that became a problem. So we had to take a step back and then build everything from scratch again. So getting the product right is the most important thing. If you have the product right, everything else will start falling in place, I would say, because you will have a customers that comes on board, and they will be happy with it. And with customers, you start showing revenue or you start showing a growth, even if it's no revenue attached to it. And then it becomes easy raising money in that case. So getting the product right, that's number one, I would say. That's in the foundation. And to launching a new feature in the platform, I'm gonna be dead honest. I'm not the person in the company. That's my partner that is responsible for it. But they have always been doing it very, very well. So yeah, they know how to do that. I'm basically not really involved in it. And even though I become very, usually I become very happy when something is launched and they show me.
Awesome. We have also another question. What kind of marketing strategies did you decide to take? I think it's very general questions, but it also associates down to other questions that when you decide to enter a new feature, more about when do you know the perfect time for you to take a pivot or like a great momentum stage to shift new strategies.
What was the first question again? I can start with the second, and I say because this I think is very interesting in when you're shifting, because pivoting, when you see that something doesn't work, even that you believe that it would work, or you see that there's some issues with what were you doing, in terms of scalability, how hard will it be, and if you can't see that this situation is gaining the grounds, but at the same time, it's like you always have multiple strategies. We always have gone through the different variations of a strategy. We have an end goal, but here's different roads we can have to get there. And if we have taken our bet on one specific road, with one specific set of features and products and features to get there, and we see that doesn't work, we have never had an issue from one day to the other, even though we have been emotionally and financially backing an idea that we really believed in. We have never had a problem when we realized that this is the wrong idea, to take a sidestep and go on a completely different route, all leading to the same goal. And that I think is very, very critical in being an entrepreneur, because you don't want to continue wasting time, effort, money in something that you're getting convinced over is a wrong direction. So immediately abort all those thoughts and go to the next, and don't feel bad about it. So that's important. Pivoting is very, very crucial. And what was the first question? Sorry.
The one before it was more about your marketing strategies.
All right. All right. That we've never built a consumer product. I've never done, except when I was in music. But So our marketing strategy, if I look from my perspective in raising money, I always want to see some different pieces come together. So one thing, you can go to conferences, but we did it. I would say never go to a conference and pay for it, because that's stupid. I mean, yes, you can get to learn, know a lot of people there. But we have always joined into conferences as startup in the beginning through competition. So they paid for us to go there, and then it's always good to win one or two or three of these prizes. So I think we were nominated as best startup in a bunch of them, and then we won New York Ad Tech. So best ad technology in New York. This is like 2014 or something, or 30. I don't remember, but. And I think that we had a price attached of $100,000 when we won that too. But the thing is, once we did that, I had zero interest in going to any more conferences, because that was just a little tick that, okay, now we have that in our presentations when we go up to customers. So we don't need to have 50 of them. I just needed to have one. So that's that feels from raising money. Also, here's a tick. We can show that the market has validated us, that. So marketing, the second part of it, I think, is which is important. I've always said, when you go up and meeting customers, and as you are sitting there for the salespeople, ask the customer if they could recommend you to another customer. Never be afraid to ask for the next step, because most people like to help, and they would say, yes, I think you should speak to this or this or this person. Suddenly you're being recommended, and this is not cold calling. This is that's a great marketing strategy, to have a product that people feel confident in recommending to others. That's my that's mainly my marketing strategy.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. The other question, so actually it goes without saying, for everyone will go to your website and check all of those brands and say like, wow, this is like very big brands. But if you want to go to the first one, how you can be able to convince one of the biggest brand in the media industry to work with you, like the first one as a startup? What's the factor there?
To just have everything proven from, you make it easy. If you have I happen to have a friend who was having he was selling some sauces it's called Eric's sauces in Sweden, which is a sauce brand, and so they were selling in stores like béarnaise sauce or pepper sauce. And then he gave us a small budget. I said, hey, let's have a little test here. Didn't cost him almost anything, and we got a first customer up and running. I mean, we could have basically done that for free, and then we saw how it worked. And then the next customer was actually part of bringing in an investor into my company, and he brought HBO to Scandinavia. So I told him that, okay, you invest, but I was more interested in getting the customers than the investment, actually. So I said, oh, you invest a little bit here, plus you guarantee from HBO 3 campaigns. So then we had HBO and this other source company. So then, then we had showcases. So getting the first showcase on board, do whatever is necessary. And then after that, you go up and sell. Let's see, here's the data. This is, how much, this is the result from these other campaigns, and this is how it works.
So no secret sauce is there?
No, there's no secret. There's no secret sauce. It's called hustle. Go out and hustle the best way you can.
Awesome. Hustle network, and then improve it for the rest of the brands. Awesome. The other question is actually, I have it for myself. So you're working in a very comprehensive and complicated industries that you work with high-tech technologies. And you always, for any startup, they always look to find the top niche people, the nerds, the top in the market. So how, as a founder or as a CEO, you can actually work with people who's more smarter than you in industries that you've never been into, and still be able to make them satisfied to stay in a company, to work with you, and gets every day motivated?
Yeah, but I think everything falls back to the same thing. I mean, it's, you know, network along the way, because that will give you opportunities in recruitment, in investments, in everything. And I always, which hasn't been that hard, always try to hire people that are better than I am, and that's kind of my motto. And that's actually been very easy. but so always hire people that are better than you are, and then next thing is, you know, if you have people, there's different schools how you run a company, and in my school you kind of, if you believe in a person that you recruit, and you believe that this person is better than you are in this niche where this person has the experience and where he or she is going to work, then I'm not going to go and interfere in his decisions, because if I start micromanaging, that means that he will be dissatisfied, and he or she will not stay with me in the end. So you have to give autonomy to people in their areas, and if you can handle that in the right way, then everybody's going to be very happy. But you also have to, from your perspective, in your role, what you're doing, be very open and speak about, you know, the needs that you have or the requirements that you have, and that throughout the organization. But the easy answer is that always try to engage with people that are smarter than you are. And if you have really, really smart people on board, it's much easier to get other smart people on board. So that's the thing. It's also, you know, go out and hustle, and be honest in your career, because every step, even the small steps that you sometimes don't even think about, that happens in the next year or two, they may affect you in 15 years from now, and help you in 15 years from now. So so make sure that you do things in the right way and don't take shortcuts. Yep.
Awesome. So those are kind of the questions that we receive online. Still waiting for people to fire more questions our way.
There's one more I read online. Someone was asking, how did you find sources of funding when you started the company? So your first few sources of funding, if you can just kind of summarize that for us.
Yeah, you know, it's as I said, you know, I've been lucky, and then over the course of my now like 16, 17 year long career, I've managed to meet people along the way, and those people believed in me, and I've never really gone behind their backs, and I've always pushed forward, and that's why you know, the investments come. So plus, you know, as I said, build a product or build a vision for a product, and why this is working, and never, and it's like, from my perspective, I've always worked with co-founders, and it's the same throughout the years since music, but you have to make sure that, or they, in this case, it's that he knows that this is a product that he really can back up and say that this is great, because when you know you have a great product, everything becomes much easier. And some you will hear from some entrepreneurs, and it may work for them, where they say that, you know, go-to-market strategy is the most important. You know, launch it, and then while you're launching it, you refine it all the time. Yes, that's true. But if you launch something in the beginning that is crap, it's not going to work to fix it. So I've just been sitting with a friend of mine, and we've been discussing this. It's been very, very interesting, actually. And he's in he's doing speakers and headphones, and it's become a very nice company and growing extremely fast across the globe. And his idea is always, the market is very important in his company to launch directly. But then again, when he launched something directly, it is still something that is super good. So and then the customers, you go out to the store, start selling his headphones and his speakers, and after a few months, the customers who buy the speakers 5 months down the road, they do not understand that the product in itself have changed considerably behind the scene. It looks the same from the outside, but it has changed behind, just to be out on the market. So that's something that works. But he's an expert on that. But make a product that you're really proud of before you launch it. That's my dive.
Thank you, Miki. And just to build on the sources of funding kind of conversation, did any of the projects that you worked on or Znaptag have to go through traditional sources of funding? Did you guys ever apply to accelerator programs or incubators? Did you receive VC type funding? Or was it just through your network? Because that's also not a very conventional way, because not everybody has a network. Not everyone is lucky enough to have rich friends and be able to network in the right places.
No, all my companies has been private funding, except there's one company that I been involved in extensively also. It's called Centerio, doing operating system for set-top boxes for TV. So they have now a lot of venture capital on board, but I brought in a lot of private money. But no, my companies, VCs are great to have on board in a company. The right VCs, I would say, and in the right VCs, also the right persons. If you it's really important to get the right investors on board. If it's a private individuals or even if it's VCs, because if you don't, it can screw up a lot of things. And I would say in many cases, one should turn down money if you're really desperate needing it, because often is that investment that will come and haunt you later becomes a problem in the company. So be very careful before you take in money, where the sources of funding are from and who the persons are. I think that's super important in doing your due diligence towards investors. But no, I've not raised the VC money, but I raised considerable amount of money into the companies. Yes.
And what's next for you after Znaptag? Because it seems like you seem like the type of person that's always looking for the next big thing. Is Znaptag it for now, or is there something else in the pipeline?
No, I've always things in the pipeline, but I want to be I'm going to focus in getting this done to the point where I don't have to feel that I'm need to be on operation for it. But no, Znaptag for now, and then we'll see. I'd like to come down to, for instance, here with you guys to Beirut, your accelerator program, and speak to some of the people that are listening, because I'm really interested in this. I'm really interested in doing my best to help change stuff, and since everybody in Syria is going through some enormous amount of problems, I would love to be part in doing my fair share towards it, because the difference, I think this is also very important, difference between a problem and an opportunity. It's that's attitude. So many opportunities have difficulties in them, and vice versa. So even though it's this is what I really like about this, because starting things now, when it's a hard situation, is also an opportunity to build things in the right direction. I think that fascinates me. So we'll see.
You're welcome to join us. We'd be honored to have you support us and support our entrepreneurs.
Yeah, because maybe the next big thing is listening in right now, and that's the thing.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, thank you so much. I think we've covered all grounds and we've received a lot of questions, so it's wonderful. We've had very active viewership on this session. So thank you for the inspirational talk. If there's anything else any thoughts you wanna leave us and our viewers with, please, you have the floor is yours.
Yeah, I just wanna say I hope to see you soon. That's it.
Same here. We all hope that one day we will get to meet in person and really exchange all of this experience and advice with you. I think it's extremely valuable to us. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And really, I like the Znaptag story because it's very different than the other stories that we've heard on Jusoor's sessions. It's a bit different. It's a bit more untraditional in the way that it was set up and the way that you run it as an entrepreneur. So it's very inspiring to hear your personal take on things. So thank you for your time. And thank you, Sufyan and Yamana. Thanks for everybody that's been watching us. And stay tuned because this session will be translated into Arabic and subtitled, hopefully in a few weeks' time. So everybody that wants to also view this in Arabic will have the chance to do so. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks again. Bye-bye.